What's up, Ron?
Hello, Mr. Darren.
How are you doing?
I am doing pretty darn good.
You bored?
Uh, no, actually, it's opportunity for me to get some stuff done. Try to get some stuff done, but
There you go. Yeah, I've still been working from home, so I'm not that bored.
there's so much. I'm packing right now. We're trying to move, and we got all the. It's just, yeah, it's just too much. Too much.
Oh, yeah, I forgot you were in the middle of a move, huh?
Yeah, and remodel. We're trying to remodel both houses too, so it's when you live in one and you get the other one. Yeah, it's just. I've been fighting a plumbing issue, just parts issue for a week and a half now, trying to get the right parts. It's just like,
It's hard to get a hold of anything right now.
uh-huh.
But it's hard to get a hold of anything right now.
Home Depot's staying open until 6. But they used to stay open until 8, 9, or 10. I don't know what day it is, but so if you
I had to get some gym equipment because my gym closed.
Oh yeah.
But then I was waiting until the next check to get some more stuff, but everything's sold out now. So I'm glad I got what I got. Everybody has the same plan.
Yeah, same thing with guns and bullets.
Yep.
They're flying off the shelf right now. Hey, were you able to get in the Zoom meeting? This is the first time I've done it this way through the actual meetup. I've never done it where you had to pre-register, so I have no idea. I've always just done where we done it. Just give out the code and give out the meeting room, so no problems getting in.
Yeah, I didn't have any problems. It was pretty quick. I didn't even know I had to pre-register till right before I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have any problems either.
One second, I'll be right back. I think my sister's locked out.
That's Jason. Okay, I thought I recognized that voice. No audio for you, Jason. You must be on the toilet.
My habit in meetings is to mute myself anytime I'm not actively speaking.
Yeah, that's a good habit. There's already bloopers out there. People never use Zoom. They're having a business meeting, and a couple of them go to the bathroom and they forget that the camera's on them. Like,
well, I come from an IT background as well. I've been on a lot of conference calls and accidentally said something on the whole call that I meant for just the person I was talking to in the room.
Oh yeah, you got burned. Yeah.
I'm real good at it now.
I'm on Zoom like every other day with my job. Conference calls. Works pretty well.
I learned the mistake of not letting them know that you're on a speakerphone. One time I was talking to my dad, and he was prepping me up, for I was having some economic downtime, kind of, just father and son. He was encouraging me, and he said something about one of my coworkers, one of my employees. You're not like him, and I didn't tell my dad he was on speakerphone, and so it's kind of, that was the day for me. It's like, okay, from now on, if there's anyone else, if I'm on speakerphone, I'm gonna let you know. 2, if there's anyone else in the room, I'm gonna say, hey, say hi to so and so, because they're in the room too. That way, it clears, man. It just avoids that embarrassing, whatever. So
I've had to tell both of my parents that. I'm like, if I'm on speakerphone, let me know. Let me know first. Especially don't say something negative about the person next to you and have me on speakerphone.
But then again, if it happens, it happens. It's not my problem. It's their problem now.
Yep. Usually with my siblings. That's the problem.
Oh. We'll wait just a few more minutes, and then we'll do introductions, and we'll get started. Normally, we have our main meeting, of course, downtown. We have anywhere from 20 to 40 people show up, but of course, the COV stuff has changed everything for a while. So we were going to have Mark Carpenter with local house buyers come talk about his journey and ups and downs through business world, and all the tree branches hit along the way. But I called him last week or two and said, it's probably not going to happen. So we'll just move him out until April. I think it's going to be Jimmy Ogle from, which one? I can't remember which company he's with. He's going to be talking about the new entrepreneurial school they're starting up called Acton School, which is pretty cool. That should be next month. And then the month after that will be Mark Carpenter. So we'll see. We'll just play it by ear. Yeah, everything's kind of.
I'm glad you kept it going. I was about to recommend Zoom, and then I went on Meetup, and I was like, oh, it's still going on. Perfect.
I'm looking for my fierce. And of course, while we're waiting, we'll go ahead and we'll talk a little bit about, it's open discussion about our businesses and what we're doing for the COV and what we've seen. And if you haven't already heard me yet, talk a little bit. I've been honing on our we've had a lot of conversations with our students about what's going on. And so it's pretty insightful to hear from other perspectives. And so that will come out here a little bit as well. If it's just maybe 4 or 5 of us. It said there's 20 or 30 people sitting and getting on, but you know how usually it's half that show up. Let's see. So we'll just
people could assume that it's just not happening and not look at Meetup too.
Yeah. Well, I probably should have put a message out, but it's kind of like,
You mean somebody would assume something?
yeah. Let me, I'll put a message out right now, and then we'll get started here in just a few seconds. What else is going? Anything positive going on in you guys' lives right now?
Getting a lot of exercise in.
What was that?
Anything positive going on in your guys' lives right now? Anything awesome? Still breathing? That's always good.
Yep.
Nobody's sick, and I've got about 25% of my rent for next month paid already.
Oh, nice. They're paying up early. What's the deal? I mean,
most of my tenants, their rent is actually due today.
Oh, way early. Okay.
And then it's late 4 days later, so it'll be late on by the 1st, it's late.
I don't think we've only got one person out of ours that's behind, but that's because they lost their job prior to COV. But they got a job, so we'll see what happens.
Heck, at least they beat the rush for unemployment and other jobs.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so we'll wait 30 more seconds here, and then we'll get started. 7:09. Well, it looks like it's just a few of us. One more thing here. All right. All right, guys. Well, thank you for being patient. Thanks for getting on. It looks like it's just 1, 2, 3, maybe 3 or 4 of us. One of the persons I don't recognize looks like on the phone, but since we're such a small group, we can actually do introductions. So who you are, what you do, and then maybe what we're looking forward out of this session. So I'll start. I'm Ron Harris. I'm a serial entrepreneur, former IT guy turned real estate investor. After reading a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, it screwed me up in a good way and set me on the path to financial freedom with real estate investing and flipping houses and rentals. And rentals is what sets you free. Flipping houses and wholesaling and that kind of stuff will get you some money, but you really need to end up buy and hold kind of stuff. That's actually opened up new doors in my life of coaching and mentoring and other things in life that I had no idea was going to be part of, all because I got some financial freedom and some time freedom. And then, of course, I got a baby now, so that changed. That throws everything in the fan again. All good. And what I like to get out of this tonight is, man, I just like the stories. I like meeting with people. Being an introvert myself, learning how to become an extrovert. Former IT guy, it's typical of leaning in the back room. These kinds of things have helped me grow and get better and better at being more extroverted. Got to balance that out. And then, but learning and hearing stories. I mean, my days always tell me, if you can get one piece from a book or a 3-day event, if you get one thing that changes your life or has an impact on your business, it's all worth it. And so I always go in the approach that, what one thing I'm going to get out of this meeting. So I'm looking forward to that. So again, I own a real estate brokerage for my wife, on our investment properties, and of course our coaching, mentoring, and a little other things there and here and there, but we're mostly real estate related today. So that's me, who you are, what you do, and what are you looking forward out of this meeting today. Darren, you want to start? You go for it.
Yeah, my name's Darren Sipinary. I'm a musician, which has been a little struggle lately, but I'm switching that over to video stuff very soon. Do social media for businesses. And then my main job that isn't my own business is I work for Liberty Mutual. So I come into this and these groups because I like to meet people. I feel like everything's about, it's who you know, especially around this town, but I realize, that's everywhere. I like learning from other people and always looking for referral sources as well. So did I hit everything?
Yeah, sounds good.
Name's Jason Cameron. Got into real estate, I guess, seriously about 5 years ago. Went full-time in December as a real estate investor. And my wife actually went outside to plant plants. So I guess I'm solo here now. And she sent me this and told me that we were talking about the COVID-19, and I'm always interested in seeing what other people are doing with it right now because I haven't finalized what I want to do.
Yeah. Well, it's changing every day, right? Everything's changing right now. Some of the stuff I'm getting about the SBA, I mean, every hour, it's just something new. You're like, okay. We'll talk a little about that too. I got some more clarification for the SBA stuff that's coming down. Okay. Well, the person we had on it was someone called in, but they've dropped off. So it's just us three. So this is gonna be a fun conversation. We can get really deep. So what do you guys want to start? What do you guys want to do?
Well, I'd like to hear what you guys are doing, either proactively or reactively, with your tenants on the whole unemployment. The people that have heard, oh, somebody said that there's a rent freeze, things like that.
Oh, rumors and stuff. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, this will be, of course, Angela's a little bit more. I wish she was up here. She'd have a better answer for you, but because of the attorneys. The eviction attorneys, I think Rick Rice and the Goldman, but Rick Rice has been saying they haven't put a freeze yet in Oklahoma on evictions that as of, unless they've changed it today. Now, this was a few days ago, but they're delaying the courts. So if they're delaying the courts, then whatever you have right now may get through, but if it was a few days ago, but now everything's being said it's probably going to be end of April because they're slowing it down. So they haven't made anything official, but they can do what they want. They can just, so if you have tenants that are not paying you or about to not pay you, instead of getting mad at them, you're probably going to have to work with them anyways because you can't get them at the end of April anyways, right? So you might as well be nice to them. And plus, the COV is not their fault. They didn't cause this, right? So losing their job, those kinds of things, it's he said, she said, but the COV thing, unless your tenants are lying to you about that kind of stuff, I would probably give them the benefit of the doubt, especially with my wife. She does a very good job at tenant screening. So there's a lot of communication. And so we've never, even in the past, we've never had a lot of problems with that kind of stuff. So I think Ian just jumped on. Ian?
Hey.
Tell us who you are and what you do and why you're here.
Okay. Well, my name is Ian Rupert. I am a public adjuster. My webcam's not working. I just now noticed that. I essentially help policyholders in their claims against the insurance companies. So that means wind, hail, fire, that kind of thing.
And what are you looking forward to? What are you looking forward to today out of this meeting?
Oh, I just like to get to know other business owners and do networking and, see if I can help.
Hey, we can see the camera. We're seeing your bald spot on your head. That's what we're seeing. That's a big picture of your head.
Yeah, I'd like the webcam will like stay on for like a couple seconds and then turn off. It's the problem that just started. I noticed it a couple days ago, which I never even use my webcam. So who knows? I think it might be a software issue, but I've tried troubleshooting. I can't quite figure it out. But I haven't spent too much time on it yet.
I've had some driver issues with my webcam. I haven't been using Zoom for a while, and I got back on, and so I've been having some driver issues, and so that seems to help. Of course, I rebooted. I had to reboot for this meeting. That's why I was late. I was like, I had to reboot anyways, and so.
Now, are you at the new place?
No, this is my original house. This is my office upstairs.
Cool.
This used to be my bedroom when I was 13 years old, and since I bought my parents' house, this is now my office.
Oh, okay.
So we're still packing. That's why it's all kinds of junk in the back. And but anyway, so we're talking about what we're doing about our tenants, and if they're not paying, or they take advantage of the rumors of other states are doing no evictions. Well, Rick Rice told Angelina, I don't know maybe a week ago, that expect it to be the end of April because the courts have slowed down and delaying everything. So if you have tenants not paying you, instead of doing your standard procedure of sending the notices and all that, maybe you try to work it out, because one, the COV is not their fault. This is not something they caused. He said, she said kind of thing. They got fired from their job or whatever. And so.
Have you heard about the Oklahoma County Sheriff saying they have halted lockouts indefinitely?
I haven't heard anything. Ian, have you heard anything?
Yeah, I saw a news article that says the Oklahoma County Sheriff came out and said that they are not going to process lockouts at all.
I wonder what the rules are on that kind of stuff. Can they actually do that kind of stuff because they're not following the law anymore? Ian, you're a little bit more about law savvy.
Okay. Yeah. So if you got tenants that are getting behind because of COVID-19, realistically, you should consider that April and May's rent are lost at this point. So you would be better off trying to work it out with the tenant. I've already started negotiating with tenants that have contacted some of my clients. And what I'm doing is I'm using that opportunity to extend their lease, give them a lease credit. We usually will do $360 per year that they extend, and then up to 3 years. And then also giving them a promissory note on April's rent over the next 12 months with no interest if paid on time. So that does a couple things that gets you a win-win. And if they don't pay, then you can enforce the note later, but also you're not losing rent. Whereas, I mean, you could very easily lose your shirt on rent these next couple months. So.
And plus, you're not being aggressive against them by kicking them out during this crazy time right now. So.
Yeah, you don't want to be the landlord charging late fees and sending any notices. In fact, one tenant in Norman was one of the first people to go on the news because he got like a quit notice. So just don't do any of that stuff. What I'm doing is if I even get an email from a tenant or an inquiry at all, I'm just being proactive, reaching out to them and negotiating it and getting it off my desk. So that way we're done.
So this may be a good segue to, we're all affected by COV. So let's step back for a second. I've been coaching, mentoring a lot of people and our students, and I knew this was a couple of weeks ago, we started this process before it came to Oklahoma. And we said, guys, the reason why you fear is because you fear the unknown, right? And so we're fearful of the unexpected and the unknowns. And so if we do what's called fear setting, which I learned that from Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek book called Fear Setting. And he says, if you'll define the fear, you can conquer the fear. And so, and so if you go out and say, and I'm going to paraphrase, I'll send you guys a document on what we do in our brain notes, but I'm going to really shorten it down. But if you just go out and think about all the things that can go wrong in your business, your personal business, your personal life, all the things that can go wrong with that decision or that event, the COV, people not paying you, your whatever you're doing, what are all the things that can go wrong? And what you realize is when you think about the top 5 or top 10 or top 50 things, by documenting that and thinking about it, the fear is reduced because now you've identified some of the bad things that could happen. And you also realize they're not so bad as they're not as bad as you think now. And then the next step is, what can I do if that thing happens? What's the likelihood of it? You can measure that. And if it does happen, what can I do to either postpone it, delay it, stop it, mitigate it, solve the problem, right? Or screw it, right? And so when you start to fear set and think about what's going on and you define what's going to happen, it just reduces the amount of fear because now you have an action plan of what you can do. And I've been on a couple of webinar calls with other people and been saying, you know, what, there's a very successful man. This is back in the early, I want to say 2007, 8, very successful business owner. And I was talking about money and cash flows and businesses and the economic changes. And he goes, it doesn't matter what kind of business you're in. It doesn't matter how much money and cash flow you're coming in. All entrepreneurs experience cash flow problems, right? You're always experiencing ebbs and flows, economies and cycles, and depending what kind of business you're in. He says, when you run out of money, you can be making money on paper, but going broke in cash, right? And so, because you can't make payroll or whatever. So he said, when you're in those situations, your job is to find ways to buy yourself some time. How can you delay? Buy yourself some time so you can solve that problem or that money comes in. So whatever issue that comes in, what can you do to buy yourself some time? So let's step forward now on the fear setting. Some of the stuff we've already talked about a couple of weeks ago in the fear setting in our classes have already happened, right? And so that was part of the fear setting. What's the solutions or ways to mitigate it? Those things are happening right now, right? And so we'll move forward. So we'll step back like as though it hadn't happened on some of this stuff. So let's walk through this, guys. So what are some of the things that can happen? And it looks like we got John on and Elliot. If you guys real quick, why don't you tell us who you are and the new people are on. Well, actually, we just start over if you want, but we can tell you who you are and what you do and what you're looking forward out of this online meetup.
Go ahead, John.
Hey, I'm a software developer, normally work in an office, but now working at home. I also have 2 side hustles. One is userbob.com, which is a remote user testing service, and the other is studystack.com, which is a website for students to memorize information. And I guess I'm just here because a little bored and just feeling trapped at home. So figured I'd socialize a little bit.
That's good. The only reason I'm here is because you guys went virtual. I'm not in Oklahoma.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, my name's Elliot Fay. My wife and I run a small investment fund that invests in underrepresented founders. We decided to expand into Oklahoma because our daughter is there training with the Olympic rowing team. And wherever our kids are, we tend to plant roots. So for 4 years, that was in Washington, D.C., and now it's in Oklahoma City and San Diego. But I'm glad to join you and learn more about what your community is doing to start up and see, I guess how we can help cultivate that kind of an atmosphere. And because I see a lot of facial hair here tonight, I'm just going to go ahead and say, we need more women in this group and groups across the country. It's not just yours.
There you go. Okay, well, the ones that Jason and Darren, we can go and introduce ourselves since we got new people. I'm Ron Harris. I'm a former IT guy, guru turned a real estate investor after I read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, changed my life, started investing, and the passive income has changed my life, set me free financially, mostly, and then, of course, financial and time-wise. And so today, I own our investment with my wife, our investment properties. We own a real estate brokerage. We have other agents do things for other investors, etc. And then also coaching and mentoring, which is the ultimate purpose of my life, which is actually helping other people and coaching and mentoring, whether it's entrepreneurship and or real estate investing. And so that's been the most impactful until I had a daughter. And then of course the daughter thing, I totally get it. That has become the most important thing. And so a great blessing in our lives. And so, but I always like, if there's one thing I can get from a meeting, one little piece of information, whether it's over the next couple hours or the next 3 days, whatever it is, I just enjoy the stories and what nuggets I can learn from other perspectives. Darren or Jason, either one?
Yeah, my name's Darren Sipinary. I'm a musician. I own my band. I also own a small social media business that I do dispensaries and CBD shops. And then my main job is I work for Liberty Mutual Insurance. So I come out, I feel like, it's all about who you know, try to meet new people. I'm always looking for referral sources and ways to link up businesses.
Jason Cameron, my wife Emily, so that there's somebody without facial hair. We got into real estate investing pretty seriously about the time we got married 5 years ago, and I went full-time real estate investor in December, and I'm here to get some other perspectives and ideas for how to handle all of this COVID-19 stuff.
All right, anybody else? Ian, I think if you want to do yours again, and then there's John Higgins as well. If you want to, you don't have to.
Okay. Well, my name is Ian Rupert. I'm a local public adjuster here in the Oklahoma City metro area. I can work claims pretty much anywhere in Oklahoma, depending on what kind of claim it is. I'm also licensed in Florida. I primarily represent policyholders in their claims with the insurance company. So that would be large fires all the way down to, hail claims and routine water claims.
And I can vouch for Ian. He did our roof claim on our house here and got us a significant amount more money on our claim on our personal residence that we're moving out of. So thumbs up for Ian.
Well, thanks, Ron. I appreciate that.
All right, last few people, if you want to, who you are, what you do, and why you're here, what you were trying to get out today, and then we'll get officially started and we'll continue to move forward. So, looks like there's Carrie and Elliot and John Higgins. Just unmute and introduce yourself.
Yeah, no, I unmuted. I just was waiting to see if anyone else was going to jump in there.
Yeah.
Old faces, old names. How long have you had this, Ron? This group?
Entrepreneur group started, I think, back in 2008. I think maybe 2008. Yeah.
We used to meet at the North Side Y or the West Side Y.
It's bounced around. Yeah.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
Oh yeah. And since then, I've lived in Florida. I've lived in San Antonio. I moved back to Oklahoma here just the last month and saw this virtual meeting and familiar name and faces. And I said, okay, I've been gone for a while. I'm going to jump in and see what's going on.
Yeah.
Not a real estate investor as of yet. What I do is I help mainly brick and mortar businesses with just about everything that they need, from foot traffic to marketing to websites to loans to reducing credit cards. I mean, I had my own business for years and years and years, CEO, and just kind of taking that knowledge forward and just reconnecting basically is the reason I'm here.
Awesome. Anybody else?
Can you hear me?
Sure can.
This is Carrie. How are you?
Well, we're doing well.
I am actually completely new to this. I live in Norman, and I've been in, fundraising probably for the last 15, 20 years. But it's a new season for me. And so I'm exploring a bunch of different things, actually. And when I found you guys, I think it was on Facebook when I found you first, connected by email. And then I was, added to the list of being notified for these certain things. And so I thought I'd jump on because I could.
Yeah, awesome.
So thanks for having me.
All right, last call for anyone else, and we'll just jump right into it. Brandon Turner, who you are, what you do, and what you're looking forward out of this meetup. Can't hear you. Mike. There you go.
That better? Okay. My name is Brandon Turner. I am with Procedure Sheets. We write operating procedures for businesses so people can duplicate themselves, delegate tasks, and get their time back. I am here to contribute some ideas, learn a little bit about what everybody else is doing and how they're approaching this situation and this incredible opportunity that we have. I'm of the mind that you have a choice. You can be the victim or you can be the solution. and I want to be part of the solution. I'm sure that's why all of you are here as well. So I'm really happy to be here and look forward to making things happen.
And just props for Brandon. He spoke last month about his story and his business. So it was awesome. Brandon's actually one of the founding founders of OKC Entrepreneur Group way back when it was called OKC Entrepreneur Club, I believe. Back in 2000, when did it start? 2006, 2008, somewhere around?
It was 2008, sometime 2008, spring maybe.
Yeah. And so it's all a little bit of history. This all started because we kept meeting. The original guy who started it called it something else. He stopped showing the meetings, and it's about 5 of us that kept coming to Borders and meeting. And we really liked it. It was like this little mini mastermind that none of us had really been a part of. And we really liked coming together as entrepreneurs. We spoke the same language, right? And we had the same problems, even though we're in different businesses. And so we all became friends, and we realized there was something magical there. And so and that led into us holding ourselves accountable like a mastermind, where we read a book called 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, and said instead of us just reading about it and saying that's a cool idea, let's hold ourselves accountable as a small group and implement those things. And so that's a good segue into, we're talking about fear setting, and that's what we learned fear setting. I learned fear setting from Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week about the reason why we fear is because we haven't defined it. We don't know because of the unknowns. And so if we'll go out and manage, or what's the worst that can happen, right? Right now, the COV stuff going around, the fear is much greater than probably the actual risk of COV, unless something changes. But the fear is very, very real, right? And so it's making a lot of people make decisions, and you can't stop them. So the question is, can you define all the things that can go wrong in your business or are going wrong, right? It helps you reduce the fear when you identify those things. And the next step is you can rate what's the likelihood of that going to happen. And then when you do that, and then you can say, well, what's the things I can do to stop it, or solve that problem, or postpone it, right? Or delay it, or pivot a little bit. But what can you do to mitigate it? And then, of course, if it does happen, then what's really going to happen, right? And so I remember a very successful entrepreneur who sold his business for lots of money back in early 2000s. And I remember talking to him about cash flow, money, our businesses, and entrepreneurs. You know, especially when you're brand new, you're going to have a lot of cash flow problems in and out all the time. And even when you're more successful, you're going to have different kinds of cash flow problems. And so you can be making money on paper and losing money in the bank account, right? And so you can't make payroll and that kind of stuff. And he said something very powerful. He says, no matter what happens, your job as an entrepreneur is, when those things happen, is to find ways to buy yourself some time on that, right? What can you do to delay that? And so you can solve that problem and maybe get some more money back in. So, so this is a good segue to the fear setting. Again, we're all entrepreneurs of some sort. What are the things that are going to happen? What are the worst things that can happen right now? And anyone's welcome to.
That's a pretty big unknown, because this is, this is an unheard of event. I mean, we're all under quarantine basically for something that, had they not identified this particular strain of coronavirus, it would just be another statistic, because people die of this thing every year, a version of it. And more people, everyone's seen this, the reports and everything. Everyone's died. More people have died from the common flu than this thing. But for some reason, now this country and the businesses are on lockdown. And what's the long-term effect of that? We're going into a great big unknown. I agree. There's solutions to be found. It's fearful, but it's exciting at the same time, because it's uncharted territory, and we don't know what's out there yet. And so the best thing to do, you're speaking about buying time. That's what we're doing now. We're buying time, and at the same time trying to figure out what are the best steps for not just us, but for everyone that we're serving, or our clients, our customers, or whatever.
Well, my dad, we're Oklahomans, right? And some people are saying some of it really started, the straw that broke the camel's back was the NBA Thunder and the Jazz, right? What was that guy's NBA player touching all the stuff? Well, right after that happened, my dad saw his business. I mean, he just saw that $100,000 in 1 week evaporate, just like that, because all those events started cratering right after that. Right, my dad's in the arena, the Chesapeake Arena, and all those events. I mean, he's probably going to lose $200,000 this month. Right? And he's in this 5th year of his business, where a very critical time, where A lot of his things will be paid off. A lot of cash flows will be about to be coming in, and his season starts right now. And this all happens, all right? Most critical time of his entire business, this was going to be the year that it explodes and everything's paid off. And now he's still got payroll. He's still got overhead. He's still got rent. He's still got mortgage payments and, you know, loan payments and all those things. And watching my dad growing up, I have multiple businesses on this. Back in the 80s, he brought computers to Oklahoma. You bought a computer for him or his competitor. And so I got to see that as a young kid, not understanding a lot of things. The rise and fall of a huge industry, right? When PCs were exploding, and he made a lot of money in the beginning, to now you only make $25 when you're selling a computer, and that whole model, that whole change, and watching the ride along there, and all the experiences that my dad had with cash flow problems and cash coming in and all those things. I didn't understand those things until I got a little bit older. I was like, oh, so watching my dad handle this again, he's already been through this. He's a veteran on this, and so concerned. But he's been there, right? And so it will be interesting to see what happens. The joke was, what's the worst that could happen? Well, my dad loses the business and he's got to move in with me. Mom and dad. I'm like, oh, we want to avoid that, Dad. Love you a lot, but you know, he lives about 2 minutes away. So yeah, just what can we do to prevent that? So, all right. So what else can go wrong? I mean, what now? Who's got an example right now that's got some problems in their business? What's happening?
Ron, on that, you might want to send your dad's insurance policy over to me, because there is actually litigation over whether business interruption coverage is triggered in this event, and there's going to be a lot of unknowns. So like the policies might say they don't cover viruses, but like in New York, they're looking at making a law to where it overrides the policy language just because of how unprecedented this event is. And so businesses like that, you might want to pay attention to the insurance news, because we may have some changes coming down the pike. If you are a business, at least check to see if you have business interruption coverage, and if you do, see if there's a virus exclusion. And even if there is, you want to kind of monitor things, because that insurance company may end up paying claims because of a legal change.
Well, yeah, I just saw in LA, put my brother-in-law policy doesn't cover viruses. What if, attorneys can twist things around. What if it's saying, well, my business is not affected by the virus. My business is affected by the events that closed down. Is that possible? Is that way?
Well, and that's where some policies might still get triggered because of civil authority. And then there's a technicality that, the virus can do physical damage, in that if you can establish that people have been in your premises, like a restaurant, for example, then you might have a contamination, and that might trigger coverage. Now, a lot of policies are going to have these exclusions for viruses, but like I said, I'm staying on top of the news, and literally this could change. There could also be some insurance companies that make the business decision to go ahead and extend coverage for if that policy has business interruption. And for those of you that don't know what that means if your revenue or your profit was, $100,000 a month or whatever, and you are now down to $50,000, the insurance should pay the other $50,000 for business interruption. That's how that works.
Okay, so what else can go wrong? Anyone else want to share?
Well, as a landlord, the obvious one for me is everybody decides that they don't want to pay their rent, whether it's legal to or not, because they heard on the news that the sheriff's not doing lockouts and there's no evictions in places.
Right. Well, let me step back. This might help you guys. This will tie into entrepreneurship. Then, I'm a real estate investor and own other businesses in the past as well. It came up about what's the worst thing that can happen in our rental business, right? And we have flips and that kind of stuff, but our rental business is the primary thing. Is if the tenants stop paying you, right, because of rumors, or they're lying to you, take advantage of you, or they really can't pay you, what do? And again, a lot of us have policy, really good in policy procedures of when, our rent's due on the 1st and late after the 1st, not by the 5th, right? It's late after the 1st. It needs to be postmarked. And so when they don't pay, we start sending out notices and those things by the regulations that we have to do that. Well, because the tenants did not cause this COV. This is not some event that they've caused. This is not some event that he said, she said kind of thing. And so we got to be a little bit more kinder, right? Plus the attorneys, they haven't done the no eviction thing yet, officially law here in Oklahoma, but the attorneys that we know have said, well, the courts have slowed down. They're delaying things. They haven't made anything official. They just slow down. Part it's because they're not in court, but also they can take their time. And so that's going to delay the eviction process. And so they're telling us by the end of April. If you have anything now, it's probably not going to be until the end of April. So you might as well go ahead and talk to your tenants and have that conversation and work out something with them, because you're not going to go any faster. Plus, if you are aggressive against them, like Ian said, someone's already on the news in Norman. That you don't want to be on the news either. I do not want to be that landlord that's on the news and have to deal with that, right? And deal with whatever that's called. Anyways, so if they can't pay you, well, a lot of us, the fear is, well, I'm going to lose my house or my rental house, because I can't make my mortgage payment, right? If I have a mortgage on it. Well, that's why a lot of investors are required to have some sort of reserve funds, actual cash, right? Or things they can tap into, like a 401k, because you can get a 401k loan, right? Or you can even tap into your credit cards and cash, get up cash, that kind of stuff, and maybe lines of credits, maybe in some of your equity on your properties. Well, what happens when you run out of money? You've used all that. So let's say 3 months from now or 6 months from now, you've tapped into all that. Now you're out of all of that. Well, what's the next thing you can do? Well, you should probably call your banker, right? Because your banker can do all kinds, especially if you're if you're dealing with commercial loans on residential, they have a lot more leeway. And so the question was, okay, call your banker. Maybe they can renegotiate the loan. Maybe they can put interest only. Maybe they can put the payments 3 months on the back end of the loan, right, to buy some time. That's happened now, right? If you're Bank of America, at least on the retail world, they're putting out their, I think 3 months or so delayed payments. But the commercial world, some of that hasn't happened just yet. So I would suggest you call your banker before you run out of money, before you tap into your reserves, because the bankers know this is all happening. So it's better to renegotiate and refinance your loans or change the deal while you're still got some liquidity in cash and that kind of stuff. It's easier. Plus, these bankers, I'll tell you, bankers will tell you all the time that they hate it when you put your head in the sand. You won't return their calls, right? Or any of your money partners or whatever. It's best to communicate with them, right? And so your bankers, they got 9 other people times 10 that they're trying to get a hold of. And so if the sooner you talk to them and you get a solution, right, or a temporary solution, they're moving on to the next 9, right? Because one of our students is a banker. He's an investor-friendly banker, and he's in our class, and it was great to talk to him because he said he agreed on that. Because also another reason, I didn't know this, but because another reason why they want to work with you is when they have a bad loan, it stays on their record for 5 years. And so they really want to work things out. And of course, there's other things about fractional reserve banking. I won't get into that, but how it affects their way of built to loan money out anyways. But okay, so now you work with your bankers. You run out of money, your bankers won't work out with you. Now what? I mean, let's say you got 6 months of this has happened. Now you're done. Your tenants aren't paying you. Or now some of these tenants are getting money, right? Suppose they're getting $1,500, $3,000. Maybe some of that would be helpful to pay for your rent. That might buy you some time if they pay you. What about, okay, well, the fear is I can't make any more payments. I'm out of cash. Maybe you can take some of your properties and dump them. Cut the finger off to save the body, right? Maybe you can have a few houses you can get rid of, or assets in your business, or equipment that you have. Maybe there's some things that you can sell or fire sell to buy you some time. It's going to suck, right? It'll be terrible, but you might be able to do that kind of things. Okay, let's say you run out of all that. What's the next thing? Well, for landlords, right, it's foreclosure. The banks will start coming after you. Well, what happens when there's a lot of foreclosures on the books? Typically in Oklahoma, it takes about 6 months, right? If you read the language in the commercial loans, they have this thing in the very front, big bold letters, power of sale. What is power of sale? Basically, they can go bypass the judicial process or the foreclosure process, depending on what state you're in, and they can just take the house, right? And what I tell people, that's the fear. But have you actually known anyone had a power of sale? I have not met any investors that ever happened to it. And the banker was in there, and I said, how often have you guys done that? He goes, we've never done it. I go, why? Why is it there? One, it'll scare you. But two, they don't want to be too aggressive either. They rather go through the regular channels of taking the house back so there's no issues later, right? They don't want to get sued back. And that's their fault. That's what happens for them. So unlikely to do power sell. Okay, well, they're going to foreclose 6 months. Well, if there's a lot of foreclosures on the books, right, because people can't make their payments and all that, and times run out on their deferred payments and things. Well, if there's a lot of foreclosures on the books, it's going to slow down. That's what we experienced when we did short sales back in 2008, 9, and 10 and all that, is that it took longer. Instead of 6 months, it could take 12 months, 24 months, 36 months. So it may buy you another 6 months. So let's say a year from now, now they're getting caught up on some of the foreclosures. Okay, what's the next thing you can do? Maybe you have to file bankruptcy. How long does bankruptcy take? I asked my dad the other day, how much time do you buy? He goes, it could buy you a few days. It could buy you 3 years, right? And so I don't know anything about bankruptcy, but that might be an option for you to say that in your worst case scenario. I got to file for bankruptcy. It'll delay until they pull those assets out to be settled. Well, what happens if they're behind on bankruptcies? All right. One of my students, she's a bankruptcy attorney. She goes, she thinks there's going to be a lot of delays right now, and her business is going to slow down for a little bit. And when this all settles, if it's still really bad, then she's going to have a flood of bankruptcy. So I tell people it's your mindset. Like Brandon said, are you here? There's opportunity, because none of us caused this problem. None of us is responsible for this. And so if you're like me, I'm a contrarian investor. And what a contrarian investor is, I bet against the market. I'm waiting for these events like this to happen, because I didn't cause the problem, but I have a solution. And when we were doing short sales, that when all the markets and the real estate and all those things were cratering, I couldn't tell you how many people at closing would sit there and cry and thank me and give me a hug because I solved their problem. I showed up and did what I said I was going to do, right? And so they knew that we were going to make money on these houses. They didn't care that we made money. They would say, make as much money as you need, just solve my problem, because they want to stop the bleeding. They want to set the problem down, and they want to move forward with life, right? They're done with this issue, right? And when you solve that problem, you get rewarded. It's okay to make money or whatever it is you're trying to do. It's okay to feel good about that, because you're helping. You don't have to be a dirty, evil bastard, right? Hurting people and taking advantage of people. You can actually take care of people and get rewarded with that. And so it's just all your perspective. And so I don't know if when Warren Buffett says, when everyone else is greedy, you get scared. When everyone else gets scared, you get greedy. You want to invest as a contrarian investor. We want to invest when the house is on fire, or when the house is on fire, everyone's run, get out, sell. Like if you're in the stock market right now, this might, if it doesn't keep dropping, this might be the best time to buy stocks if it's not going to take any more falls, right? And so houses on fire, everyone's selling and selling and selling. Well, you're going to get rewarded because you have the bucket of water. You're going to run in and you're going to save that house or save some of those houses, and you get rewarded for that. Warren Buffett says you want to invest when there's blood in the streets. Well, we got the bucket and the mop. We're going to do something dirty, right? And we're going to get rewarded for doing that, right? We didn't cause the bloodbath. Not my fault, right? And so we get to help some people. So it just depends on which side of the sword you're on, right? And what you're going to do with that. So, okay, so now let's go back to your bankruptcy. Buy you a little bit of time. Who knows? Maybe you got another 6 months. So maybe 2-3 years down the line, if you're one of the lucky ones that bought you a lot of time, can you recover from that? Maybe if things are back on, you can get rid of your tenants that aren't paying, and you can get some forbearances and that kind of stuff. Or maybe you have to cut your hand off to save the body, right? Or I don't recommend this, but maybe you just stockpile that money and save it for a rainy day, and then whenever it happens in the bankruptcy, then we'll see what happens. So this is part of that, buying you some time. So let's go now, fast forward a little bit to entrepreneurs. What about in your businesses? I mean, my dad, he has a commercial rent. If you ever do commercial rents, if you ever rent a building, some of the language in the commercial leasing is if you don't pay them in a certain time frame, they can shut the doors, lock everything, take all your stuff, right? And sometimes they have to sign. Banks try to make them sign agreements that the commercial leaser is second on the take stuff. But I have a friend that does commercial. He won't sign that stuff with the banks, and they still, pass it on through. So he's gone in there before the COV stuff. He's gone in there and taken all their inventory and shut the doors. And he tries to work with. He didn't want to do that. Right? That's the last. That's when you put your head in the sand. And so he's done that before. And so, so as business owners, what else could go wrong, or what else is going wrong right now that we might be able to do some fear setting?
Something that I was going to add, Ron, is especially as someone who went through a significant business financial dire straight situation and a few years back, is there are these loans for based on revenue. So even if you have crappy credit because you've had to overextend yourself, for businesses, you can get very large sums of money based on your strong revenue. So if you can protect your revenue, you can go to a website. Fundera is what I would recommend. Now, the loans are expensive, but if you have no other alternative, then this can literally save your bacon. What Fundera does is they will broker your loan out to multiple lenders that lend in this type of kind of high risk lending, and then they'll kind of match you with the best one, and they were phenomenal. They helped me out. So that can give you like a year's worth of time, because they'll loan you a very large amount based on your revenue.
That's a very good point. Thank you, Ian, for that. Yeah. I'll give you an example of that. My dad, before the COV, he owns Kona Ice. I don't know if you guys know Kona Ice, a franchise here in Oklahoma. He's one of the two other guys, and very successful. He's got like 5 trucks and 8 other vehicles, and so he's just a big. He's going to do $1 million this year before the COV stuff, right? In selling shaved ice, right? It's a very, very easy product to sell and very high margins. And one of the franchisees, the original one here in Oklahoma, was retiring and selling out, and my dad wanted his territories. And he got an SBA loan, and prior to that, right? And he didn't realize that the SBA loans, man, they get the hooks in you. They get their hooks in you, and I mean, you can't even get a credit card without their permission, technically, right? But he needed to go back to the SBA and say, I want to buy this other guy's territories. We're making money, right? But I need cash to buy this guy's territories out, because it's those gold mine. And the season was starting up, and SBA was, man, they were dragging their feet, couldn't make up their mind. The SBA works with local banks basically, and they take on some of the burden of the bank. And so my dad couldn't get the money fast enough, and already 5 months passed. So my dad was buying this guy's business when he could have paid most of the loan off by the time, So his mentor said, I mean, he could not get another loan without talking to the SBA, right? Somebody else. And my mentor said, don't tell him. Just go get some more money. And that's what my dad did. He went to one of those lending, like Lending Tree or Funding Tree, one of those things you guys are making a lot of those mailers, right? $300,000, $50,000 line of credit or business or cash for your business. Money's cheap for them. And so he was able to get a several $100,000 loan based on revenue, bank statements only. All right, so he gave him plenty of money now to go buy that guy's territory and extra money to continue for the business. And so he was able to do that. And when I found out how easy that was, I started hearing other stories from other entrepreneurs prior to the COV, how easy it is to get that kind of money. So fast forward, I'm now seeing stuff from some of the same sources now, where they're planning for this and they've got access to money, right? And so they're going to lend that money to you. Why? Well, because they're borrowing it from who? They're borrowing it from someone else who's got it even cheaper as far as the interest rates. And they go around and turn around and package these loans, just like what happened in 2008. Instead of mortgage-backed derivatives, it's loan derivatives. What do they call those things? So they're just packaging them up. They're making their money now and then selling it off to the secondary market and packaging it up and just throwing it back out there. They may be servicing it, but they don't own it, right? And so if it goes craters, the owners have already made their killing. And the business can crater or whatever. And so that's why that's exploding right now. Of course, the SBA now, I mean, I think I saw today, if you can get up to $500,000 based on half your revenue from last year. So if you have $1 million, you're supposed to get up to $500,000 without extra documentation or circumstances. And so that I just saw that fly by earlier today. I mean, so SBA may be an option for you. I bet they're going to get overloaded. They're probably going to have to do a rubber stamp. I bet that's what's going to happen. They'll get so overloaded that whatever you just run through them, they're going to, if you qualify for that 500 grand or less, I'm sure it's just going to be rubber stamped and they'll figure it out later. It's probably what's going to happen. So that might be a way to buy you some time. Any comments or?
I'm just putting all my comments in the chat.
protect your assets by soloing them into SPV as possible. That is, if you haven't used personal leverage to buy them. So yeah, talk about that. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I think I can speak for, I'll use my brother as an example. He owns about 8 properties. Each property, for many years, he operated just personally owning all those properties. And he was very vulnerable to lawsuits and situations like this with COVID-19. And so over the years, he has slowly siloed each property into its own LLC, which is then owned by his family holding company as an LLC. And as you said, if you need to cut off a finger or a hand, it's easy to silo a property that's already in jeopardy or losing, take that capital and move it over to the holding company and back down into the other companies. So it works quite well for him, and he's protected now. So it's a nice, clean picture of, it's all real estate. By the way, we don't invest in real estate. We only invest in software and a few other areas, some biomedical and other technology companies. But in any case, in the case of real estate, creating a special purpose, that's what an SPV is for anybody who doesn't know what it is, special purpose investment vehicle. It's just an LLC, especially if it's just you. I mean, if you have partners, it gets more complicated and there's management, things like that. But if it's just you, you just create an LLC for every single property and then have a holding company. So
what about, since you're involved in a lot of entrepreneurs on the funding side and you're involved in their businesses, what are your entrepreneurs, your businesses, and what are they doing for CLV right now?
Well, each one's very different. There is one technology company that is a content management system. It's a really interesting opportunity, sort of like Zoom, like we are right now. They need to communicate a lot of internal and external information, corporate information. And there are other systems for that. There's something called an ECM, enterprise content management systems, but these are usually for exactly what it sounds like, big enterprise companies. This is a very scalable solution. I don't know if you're familiar with WordPress, but it's like a really easy to use WordPress for internal and external communication. So they have a tremendous opportunity to expand where they were still struggling, I guess, how to pop out of that bubble. They had sold to 11 companies, contracts worth about $1 million. So they'd reached about $1 million in 2019, but they tapped out all their personal resources for sales. And this has presented an incredible opportunity for them to follow what they had already started, which was a land and expand sales strategy. That is, go in with a small project for a small department, communications department or marketing department, get their software in the hands of, say, a team of 5, and then allow the reputation of the product itself to proliferate through the company and expand out to wherever they can really get a bigger company or business units. And so for this, it's just been an incredible opportunity because everyone's now virtual. They all have to use either their computer or their mobile devices to access a lot of rapidly changing internal information.
Sounds like a virus. Get inside and they're growing like a virus.
Yeah, land and expand, just like a virus. That's right.
Change the word. Awesome. What about any of the ones that are being impacted that they're not seeing an opportunity to grow? Are they pivoting at all? Are they changing?
Yeah, the company I mentioned, Bigfoot Capital, I think they've been doing really well, and I think there have been other earnings opportunities there where, for instance, we can go and borrow money at 8 to 10% and lend it through them at 13%. Just play a little arbitrage there, and that has been historically a pretty nice opportunity midterm. But that same company is now watching the risk go up and the opportunity to lend go down. It's gotten a lot more complex, and they may be in direct competition with the government plan right now. So the stimulus package. Sorry, I couldn't come up with the word. There's other, I think other businesses. I think one worth mentioning is a fertility tool. It's an over-the-counter fertility package, sort of like a pregnancy kit, except it increases your ability to predict your fertility by 40%. And people who are trying to get pregnant really aren't going to change their plans that much. As a matter of fact, there people are predicting a baby boom as a result of this, all this stay home, and a higher divorce rate though too. So just to be clear, both of those things. But people who are already planning on having children, possibly struggling, you know, they're going to look to these kits, and because it's very affordable. So it's $179 versus a monthly visit to your doctor to only get a very narrow glimpse of what your progesterone levels look like. This is a much more effective way to say, oh, I see, this is what we should be doing to have the baby now. So some businesses are going to, you know, are going to weather the storm like lipstick and liquor. You know, they're unaffected by the economy a lot of the time. So that one will do okay. And then, you know, I think that there are businesses that are just getting off the ground that don't even have traction yet. Those are the ones for whom the phone doesn't answer anymore on the other end. There's just people who have different priorities than, you know, buying into particularly new services or things like that. So we have a bunch of SaaS products, software as a service products that are not even, you know, in market yet. They may be getting their first or second customer, and those are tough sell right now. Those people are suffering, and they have overhead.
Is there anything you're doing for the companies that you expect that will they're probably going to be closing doors or shutting down, or are going to have some significant major problems coming in a short time frame? Is there anything you're doing to mitigate those companies that are going to have those issues?
Well, most of whom we deal with are capitalized, even if they're just, you know, they've just raised 400,000. So they can, you know, limp along with their small team of 5 for, you know, up to about a year or something on that kind of money if they get lean. I think it's the small businesses that really suffer. People like the people I'm seeing on the screen right now, or like my brother-in-law, where they can't afford to hemorrhage. So they either shut down or pause for a month or two and come up with a better strategy to limp along. We've seen a friend who owns 25 restaurants here in town essentially calling the customers to invest in a fund for the employees just to keep them going. My brother-in-law in particular, you could find it on, I think, Instagram. There's a campaign on Instagram. It's called the Rotary Eats. They basically are selling gift cards. So they're getting creative, you know, but they are really on the knife's edge. They're selling gift cards. 100% of the money goes to the employees now for a future meal later, basically. So they're trying to find ways to trade money now for food tomorrow, but helping those employees stay employed. So I think it really does come down to that kind of creativity. You really got to dig deep and find what you can do to get through this and see how. I think time is the enemy more than anything. We don't know how long this is going to last. So he's actually now, he's in one of those hipster new food courts. I forget what the one in OKC is called. Oh, yeah. The Collective. Just like the Collective, he's in one of those. And they are going to turn the lights back on next week and do just curbside service, just to keep everybody going. So it's that kind of creativity I think that people have to come up with.
Anybody else comments on that?
Yeah, I got some.
Sure.
Elliot, of course, commented on, among many things, commented on being creative in a time like this. And I think you had touched on a client or a business that you were working with, the one that you were talking about just now, where they were trying to find ways to keep their employees paid and keep their employees taken care of in the tough times. And I think it's, in terms of creativity, another way we could look at it too is this is a tremendous opportunity to create jobs for people if you and your business are in a position to do so. So for example, you know, of course, we have a number of people that were, there are employers that can no longer afford to keep their people. A lot of people have lost their jobs. Their, unemployment claims have gone up. And of the people that were able to keep their jobs, they're forced to work from home. So I think about the people that don't have jobs right now. Well, maybe this is an opportunity to develop some new skills. And there are numerous resources. You can't go to the public library, but you do have access to the internet. And if you don't have a computer at home, then, you know, maybe you have one of these and you can hop on and jump on a udemy.com to develop a new set of skills, or maybe you can connect with people on a forum like this, or call friends or whatever to develop new skills. And those of us who have businesses, maybe we can create opportunities to have, to offer employment for them, not necessarily in the form of traditional employment, but maybe they can work remotely. Maybe there's some activity in your business that you need to get off of your plate so you can focus on a key performance indicator, or maybe there's an area of your business where you need to be more productive and there's extra stuff that you're doing, extra hats that you're wearing that somebody else could easily do. It could be a low skilled position, or it could be a higher skilled position, but I think there's opportunity there for some of these folks that are displaced to kind of reinvent themselves, as tough as it is and as difficult as it is right now. Picking up and developing new skills, and then getting in touch with business owners, businesses that are looking to expand, looking to scale. Maybe they're not dealing with, cash flow shortages as much as others. Maybe their issue is that, well, they just don't have enough time to do some of what they're doing. We can see this in essential businesses and non-essential businesses, as they're called. But I think that this is a wonderful opportunity to create jobs for anyone who is able or willing.
I'll chime in again on that note and say that's what happened in 2008 and 2009. That's where Airbnb was born, and Uber and Lyft got their real traction. They were born before that, but the gig economy really blossomed during that time period. And you may find when you're at risk over here that you really don't have anything to lose to go learn a skill over here and spend the time on that now, because there's nothing happening. Like you said, you got a mobile device, invest some downtime in your home in picking up a new skill, or even, a new opportunity. That's the other thing. I think we all have to, I'm going to rewind and go back to a really tough time in Laura and my background, where we were between things. As a matter of fact, 2008-9, we exited a couple of businesses before losing, but we still had zero when we walked away. And so you have to lower the bar. You have to lower your standards and say, I'm going to do the same job that maybe this high schooler is willing to do for a little while. And that's my side hustle until I get something else going that's a little bigger, more promising. Or until I can get back together with my bank, and that banker does remember me, and he does have faith in me, and now I've got something to offer him that isn't so risky for him or her. So and they see you as a hustler because you say, okay, yeah, I sold 2 of my 3 properties, I still got 1 left. I was delivering groceries for 6 months, but now I'm back. Let's do this.
Well, I don't know if this is true or not, but I saw the stimulus package is including owners of Airbnb, the gig economy somehow is being, I haven't done enough research to that they're going to be supported. I don't know how, my wife, she said, how are these self-employed entrepreneurs going to get workman's comp? What does that mean? It's like, this is a new world. What's happening? They're changing the rules. I don't know. I don't know what that means. I'm like, we don't play workman's comp typically, right? And so,
long term, it might be changed for good, because nobody has addressed that yet. The gig economy caused two things to happen. I don't want to dominate the conversation, by the way. I'm pretty good at that, so I'll be careful. But we had this high employment in this country for all this period of time, and it was artificially high because people were working 2 jobs. A lot of times they were still underemployed even with their 2 jobs. So it was really deceiving. But now that we have this challenge in our country, and we address it simply by saying, oh yeah, we better include the gig people in unemployment. Otherwise we're still gonna have a major problem, because 14%, by the way, of the American economy is dependent on the gig economy. So it's a pretty big chunk. And that might be a change that's temporary, but it could be a permanent change. And that could then make that a more desirable thing. And it could create even more opportunity for entrepreneurs.
In entrepreneurs, we pay self-employment tax if you don't have it structured properly. So self-employment tax is what, 15, 16.7, whatever that is, right? So, You know, in 2008, I mean, I started investing in 2007, bought my first house in June of 2007, when everything was still booming, right? Irrational exuberance, everything's still going crazy great, right? Even though there are people, naysayers were saying, bubble's coming, but no one listened. And I went full time, I made a lot of money during 2008. I also lost some money too. I made some mistakes. But I went full time into 2009. You know, in 2008 was still bleeding through, you know, 2009, 10, 11-ish, 12-ish, whatever, how long. And I left in Oklahoma money, I left a $100,000 job with a great 98%. They paid 98% of the insurance premiums. When you're young, you don't care about, I don't care about that, right? And they matched 401k, 50%, not up to 4 or 6 or 3, 50%. And so, I mean, I had the dream job as an IT guy. And I walked away from it. I gave my job to somebody else, right? Into 2009. And so, and how was I able to do that? Because I still didn't have a whole bunch of assets. I mean, I was taking the leap of faith because I needed the time back so I could focus on the business because it was starting to grow. And there were some trying times, even that period, where my wife's income supplemented. I owe her a lot of money. This is when I was still dating her, right? So I tracked that. I actually owe her a lot of money, right? That's for future. I'll pay her back one of these days, right? I always joke I had to marry her to wipe that out, but really we're still tracking it because I'll pay it back to her because unless they change the rules on interest, interest is taxed differently than other income. So we'll see. But we made it. Yeah, and my wife went full time 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago. And that's how we had our babies because we had more time on our hands. And so, but during that whole process, I mean, even though the crazy times, we stayed head forward that, this is what our path and it's going to work out. There are many investors who got their started when crisis times and starting new businesses and all that stuff like that. You know, Oklahoma we got obliterated in the 80s. We were doing a lot of crazy stuff with oil. We were heavy oil and Penn Square Bank. The famous Penn Square Bank, you can walk in, fog a mirror, you can say you had oil. You walk in, I have an oil well in my backyard, I think, and they'll give you $1 million loan, right? And I was just a little kid. I didn't understand what was going on until I got older. But we got obliterated economy-wise. And a lot of the old timers that are investing, I mean, they were buying houses for not 50 cents on a dollar. They were buying houses for 5 cents, 3 cents on a dollar. And my dad was at that time doing RTC sales back when all that stuff. So I got to see the government get involved and auction off all these assets. And I was just a little kid running around setting up computers for my dad. And so fast forward, and we got hit in the 90s too. Savings and loans started crashing and all kinds of problems. And there's only 2 left in the country. And they were doing some crazy stuff with loans and lending. And there's a big battle there. Early 2000s, we had the tech stocks bust, right? Like, when was that? When was tech stock? When was that? Early 2000s. Anyway, so that happened in the 2000s, right? And of course, 2008-ish, we had all the
post Y2K and post end of 2003 was the stock. Yep.
Yeah. I had a free trip to Hawaii. I had to stay here. But
you talked about. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go.
How many people you're talking about quitting your day job? How many people here? There's eight people here besides me. Have a W-2 income in addition to whatever you're doing. I shouldn't put my hand up. I don't.
I have a company that pays me W-2, but it's
you.
Yeah, it's me. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Darren, Emily, and Jason, Brandon. How about Ian, Carrie, and John? And
no, I've been self-employed for quite some time.
Okay. And John and Carrie, since we can't see your hands go up, we have to hear you. Looking for the mute button. And somebody at 580-647-9818, unidentified.
Alt-A will unmute and mute.
Well, while we're waiting for that answer, so I'm assuming, based on the show of hands that I have seen, that most people have a W-2 income and something entrepreneurial. Is that pretty much true? That we and you guys know your group pretty well. Is that right? Okay, yeah. So these are times, obviously, that it feels even more risky to quit your day job. That was brave of you, Ron, to do that back then. It'd be just as brave to do it now. but that's, I think the spirit of entrepreneurialism, that's where it starts, is you don't quit your day job. You start your side hustle and you see if you can grow it and have it outgrow your day job. And most people take the leap before it outgrows the day job. So that to me automatically says you have entrepreneurial traits. You don't have risk aversion, but it's hard sometimes to convince the other person in your life or people around you to think like you or to agree with the way you act. So I'd like to hear people's feedback on that. What's it like, to be the only person in the room, who's not risk averse?
I'll go. So my wife and I have been together for about 11 years now, and we've been married for 2. And for most of that time, she was highly, highly averse to what I was doing, mainly because she couldn't understand it. Why was I taking these risks? Why was I taking these risks with our money? Why was I spending all of these hours either meeting new people or in front of a computer screen or trying to come up with these ideas and things like this, buried in books, buried in videos and tutorials, and trying to increase my marketable skills, all of these fun things. And there's a responsibility to this too, in terms of not being risk averse, but being smart enough to let your company outgrow your business, outgrow your job before leaving it. That's just I think that decision comes on a case by case basis. For me, I understood being a rich dad, poor dad kid, that I need to make sure that the cash flow from the business, the cash flow, the portion of the cash flow I receive from the business at least matches what I have at my job. And, I'd suffered from shiny object syndrome for a long time. And that delayed my ability to have a business take off over the past 10 years or so, because I would start and I would stop. I would start and I'd stop, and I'd keep starting all over again. And then I finally committed to something about a little over 3 years ago now. So one of my focuses is I have 1099 contractors. I don't have W-2 employees for my business. So my focus is I want to make sure that they get paid, make sure that the bills get paid and the lights stay on, all that kind of stuff. And then, when it gets to a certain point, I'm comfortable paying myself. I'm blessed to have the W-2 income that I have right now because I work for an IT company that serves banks. And it's community banks. And so we have the opportunity to still go to the office. We're doing social distancing at the office, but many of us have had the opportunity to work from home. I got a chance to work from home earlier this week, all of those fun things. So that's not something that I take for granted, but I also know that, again, this is an incredible opportunity to have my business explode and really take off. There are going to be a lot of businesses that need processes and procedures. There are going to be a lot of people that need to be able to create jobs for other people. And the people that you're creating jobs for need instructions on how to do their jobs. So, that's what we do. So there's that. So it really was, I am not risk averse, but I'm not going to be completely carefree with that decision. I'm not going to just jump out there and throw caution to the wind because anything could happen. So, I'm closer now. My incomes from the business and the job are closer now than they were before, but I'm in a comfortable place right now. That's what I can say about that.
Anyone else?
Let's talk to Jason. Jason, he just went full time in December, right? You left a nice IT gig, all right? Real comfortable position in December. So now,
Yeah, and I'm definitely the least risk averse person in the room when I was out there because I worked as a contractor out at Tinker Air Force Base. So I was with a bunch of government contractor people. It was definitely a goal of mine. I had an original goal of once I'd replaced my day job income, I could quit. Then I, like a lot of people, got very scared right before, or once I hit that number, I decided, oh no, I can't quit yet. Because at the end of the day, I was looking at it as no matter what, I was giving up a lucrative IT job, and in essence, cutting my income in half. But with my wife still working as an eye doctor and a few other people on a real estate mastermind cruise telling me I was an idiot, I went ahead and went for it. And other than the worry of this COVID thing, it's been great.
This too shall pass, right?
Yeah, as long as I can get at least half my people to pay rent. I may not be able to pay myself, but at least I'll be able to pay all my bills.
Well, Emily, the office now. Are you considered an essential business since we're on the?
So I work at Tinker as well, and the medical group right now is still functioning. So I am still going to work. We're not seeing very many patients at all. As of today, we've canceled everyone unless it's an emergency thing. And more to come tomorrow, but I might be teleworking as an eye doctor, whatever that means.
So in Denver, we have a stay-at-home order. And they wanted to make sure they told us twice. So yesterday we were in the grocery store at exactly 5 o'clock when it was implemented, and everyone's phones went off like an Amber Alert. It was the weirdest thing. The whole grocery store was do, and everyone's phone said go home, basically. Then this morning again at 8 o'clock, we got another Amber Alert. And it was exactly the same thing, just, stay at home order. So I'm sure when it becomes official for you, the streets will be emptier for sure. But government does stay open, but they're like in the medical practice, I'm sure you're not gonna see patients because it's just too much exposure and risk.
The government stays open. I mean, it's the military, so they're always open. And we have a large civilian population at our base. So they're talking about sending a lot of the civilians home and letting the military people do their thing, wait it out.
Yeah, this is some uncharted territory. I guess that's the best way to describe it. I think, Ron, you started this thing on I forget what you called it, a fear check, fear setting. Fear setting, yeah.
Fear setting, yeah.
Yeah. We were talking in the car the other day, and I think everybody has a different setting. I don't want to make anybody feel wrong for having a lot of fear, and I don't want to make anybody feel callous for not having any fear. But it's just a human thing. Everyone has their way of coping with it, and so somewhere in the middle there is probably the right place to be. Cautious, but also try to be optimistic, or that's why the stock market keeps dropping, is when we're lacking in optimism. It just keeps. We need to stay home and what they say, soften the curve and let it pass, so that it can be managed in some way that doesn't have the impact on our hospitals and medical centers, and most importantly, the staff there. So kudos to you, Emily.
I saw, this when they did they call it stay at home, or what are they calling it? I can't remember. I keep getting confused. Safer at home, ours, where it's only for elderly and if you're at risk right now, right? Unless it's an essential business, but.
Yeah, that is, then that's the government's fault. If they're saying that, everyone can pass it. And, when you're in a zone where there's more of it, I think you'll all of a sudden the lights go on and it's a completely different situation. There were, a governor in Florida who's allowing spring break to happen, and you're in a state, my home state's Iowa actually, and Oklahoma, these smaller rural states, they just don't have enough numbers yet. So they're trying to downplay it. And depending on what news channel you're watching, they're downplaying it too. Depending on what news channel you're watching, you're about 2 months behind. Seriously. And there's no question. There is no question. We know people personally who have it, and they're our age. I'm 50, and they're having very serious symptoms. And we also know young people who have very serious symptoms. So that is a myth. Anyone can get it. It's 2 to 4 times more contagious, 10 to 40 times more deadly. So do not take it lightly. I can guarantee you that. You could be ahead of the curve and start passing the word around in this group. Just start with this group. That's what I can tell you.
They, of course, we went on real estate brokers too. So the real estate on the realtor side on the retail side is different than investors. They I would say they come in the middle and meet because it's a house, but they're 2 different worlds. And at first, the realtors were blocked out, and I think it's like there's like 2 billion houses on the market right now being processed to be sold, and so they did emergency stuff to kind of get them on the essential. And then, of course, I saw golf courses are now on the essential list. Golf courses. I'm like, I guess we're away from each other. It makes sense, but I'm like, maybe we need it's just like golf courses.
How did that happen? That's interesting. Now, there's been a lot of people here that are taking walks in the park, and they're even starting to curb that because the parks are getting crowded. So it would have been fine if they didn't get overcrowded. So maybe a golf course isn't so bad. Everybody keeps their distance. And somebody said this too, and you guys might be behind the curve on this too, but it's not like Charlie Brown Pigpen. It doesn't jump off your body onto somebody else. It has to come out of your mouth. So you're going to sneeze it, cough it, or speak it onto a surface or another person. And just use your common sense. That just means staying away from each other and washing surfaces, washing your hands and washing your face. That simple.
Yeah. We took our daughter for a walk, but we didn't go on the playground. All right.
Yeah. Stay away from the playground. That'd be a good idea. Yeah. For a little while. Yeah. They're all closed here. They're all taped off with caution tape.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Yep.
Is it true? Does anyone have any more information on, I guess Wuhan is finally starting to release. Supposedly they've opened the borders unless you have a certain cell phone code, I think an ID badge, or it's like if you're green, you're good, you're yellow, you have to wait. And then if you're still red, your stuff still got to be quarantined. If you guys heard anything more on that?
Yeah, they're going to start doing the antibody tests where you can walk around with some type of identification that says, I've had it, or I haven't had it, or don't have it. That'll be something too.
In China or in Denver?
Oh, sorry. They're talking about that here in the U.S.
Okay.
But in China, I think they're starting to develop those kinds of systems, and at least in South Korea is where I heard that one. Since you mentioned it for Wuhan, it made me think of the South Korean thing where they're having a type of identification system for that. But you can see there's a post on Washington Post that talks about the different percentages, and you can see the vast difference. Germany has handled it really well and kept their death rate way down. There's 3 other countries tied for second, and then of course there's us somewhere in the middle there, and Spain and Italy are in the worst case, where Italy is like 9% or something like that, really bad. So it's really about how we handle it. It has everything to do with how we handle it.
Yeah, I read on an article in Forbes magazine about Germany, and I was half asleep when I read it, but they said that a lot of the older generation, 40s and 50s, went skiing in Italy, but because they're a little bit more healthier, they were able to deal with it better, but they weren't in Germany. And then the youth there are kind of being a little bit, I haven't verified this, but they're being a little bit flippant about it. They're still having the Corona parties, and the restaurants aren't closing down until 6 o'clock. And so is that true? I mean, is that
where? In
Germany. Germany said they're being, while they have low rates, it may be a spike because some people are not taking it serious either.
I haven't heard that. The only thing I've heard is that their data shows that they've contained it better than anyone in the world. But again, data is the problem, right? Some people just don't even know how many people have it. The number of cases went up, not because the number of cases went up, it's because they started testing, so the cases were there. They just uncovered them. And that's the funny thing about, that's the funny thing about data, and it happens to a lot of other things too. It's just we start recording it, and all of a sudden it becomes a data point. I'm going to have to go, guys and ladies. I appreciate you allowing me to observe your your meeting. And that's another opportunity I thought about, is I wouldn't have been able to come to this had it not been for you going virtual. So
Yeah.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, thank you for getting on and giving your insight. And hopefully when things will get better, it always does. We've been through this in the Spanish flu and different kinds of pandemics and things in the past. We've never experienced it in our lifetime, most of us, but there's a lot of records out there and historical data that will be okay. If not, if it really gets really bad, then all of our businesses and real estate won't matter. It's going to be bullets, beans, guns, and how to use them, right? and water filtration.
I did actually see an interesting story. Somebody who was born in the Spanish flu pandemic has gotten and survived coronavirus. He's 101, almost 102.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good, awesome story.
Well, just one last bit of words then on that. People who compare it to the flu are just incorrect. And there are 100-year-olds who just happen to be healthy and able to withstand it, but it's not. It is a percentages thing, and it's so easy to be flippant about it. The percentages or the numbers. Sorry, the hard numbers versus the percentages. You look at the percentages in the U.S. It's way more dangerous than the flu. And you don't look at it as percentages. Think about, is there someone in my life that I know that that I could live without? Because that can happen. We are that close to it. Laura and I, like I said, are that close to it. And so that's what you really want to think about when you're washing your hands and keeping your distance and staying home. Just think, there's a person in your life that you're doing that for. That's what it's for.
So I should be questioning my wife why she got more life insurance on me. Actually, she put more on herself than me because she's more critical to the businesses than I am. If I die, she's gonna be all right. If she dies, I'm screwed.
Ask her why she's digging the garden 6 foot deep in the backyard. That's the big question.
Yeah.
That's a funny pumpkin patch.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you for getting on. Thank you.
Thank you, Elliot.
So anybody else have any challenges or issues in your business that we can go on for another 30 minutes or so? Usually the entrepreneur group goes from 7-ish to 9-ish, and then we all go to pizza after. Oh, I need to change that. We're not going well. Usually at the meeting after meeting go pizza, but yeah, none of us are gonna go have pizza together tonight. So
they won't be open anyway on the inside.
Yeah. So back to the fear. Hopefully, walk into that fear setting process of what could happen. And the funny thing is, we were talking about this a couple weeks ago, and those things have started to happen. Some of those things are happening. Some of those decisions are happening or being talked about that can mitigate or buy us time. So I think it's gonna. If it gets bad, it's gonna suck for a little bit. But I think if you can find ways to buy yourself some time and maybe get rid of some of your properties, there'll be an opportunity, or your business assets or whatever you're dealing with. It might be good for you. Just hang tight. But also the other side of the opportunity is, as a contrarian investor, there are going to be other people who are going to want to unload their assets or properties or IP or equipment, whatever they have. There might be an opportunity for you to buy them some time by buying their stuff at a discount. All right. So just like right now, wholesalers, right? Everyone's talking about wholesalers. We're king of the hill. Well, I'm part of those groups where, and we all know some of these wholesalers. They're all running around the head on fire, right? Running the house on fire, right? And we told them this will happen a long time ago, that they will get knocked off their pedestal, and they'll always be wholesalers. It'll be fine, but some will go to crash and burn. And that's why we've been telling a lot of our students, wholesaler students, to get some assets, right, and buy them right, and that will cover them for a little while if they do it right. But right now, I'm seeing a lot of them. They're not buying any more. They're not putting any more houses on contract unless it's a super deal. They're moving their inventory. They're dropping prices right now. And of course, if the market gets bad enough where we go to foreclosures, when banks take houses back, they don't use wholesalers. They use brokers who use agents, just like 2008. It's all coming back around again. History, if you don't learn from history, history repeats. It's all happening all over again. And so just the details are a little bit different. As Mark Twain says, history doesn't repeat, but it sure does rhyme. And so it's a lot of the same stuff coming down. And again, which side of the sword you're on, or which double-edged sword. We're all going to get cut, but there's opportunity to be healed, be better healed from what happens. And so, yeah. Same thing with businesses. I mean, there might be an opportunity for you to see this. Your competition may not survive. And if your competition closes their doors, or they can't handle the pressure, they may not lose money, but they just close the door. Since the business just close the doors, they don't want to deal with it anymore. There's going to be opportunity for out of the ashes for new people or you to increase your business, and maybe you have to pivot. Maybe you have to change direction a little bit. Like my dad, again, his whole thing about Shaved Ice is they come to you and they're very event driven. They go to events and they run their, make all this, serve all the snow cones. Well, they're going back to old school. They're going back and driving the streets, kind of like the ice cream man, right? But not creepy looking, right? Not very, very kid friendly, right? Not creepy looking, dirty hubcaps and dirty trucks with a nasty guy smoking a cigarette. Hey kids, very, very approachable. As a matter of fact, my dad actually got approval from the state health board, or whatever you call it, whatever regulates them. He just got permission to drive the streets. He had to get permission to do that because their vehicles are very, very clean. That's why they like the state health department likes Kona Ice, is because there's no animal fats, very hard to make their product dirty in their truck and all that. And so they're allowing them to do that, which will provide some income for my dad and his employees, but also bring a little bit of joy to the cabin fever kids and parents that are stuck at home. So they're going to obviously have some procedures they got to follow, but maybe as we get past through some of this, certain things will if the numbers don't come up high on the infections and stuff, then maybe certain things will be opened up again after I think April 21st or April 30th is when this lockdown is. How long is the lockdown?
Said it was 21 days, but I don't remember exactly when that started.
Yeah.
I also don't remember. I know courts were supposedly limited staffing / closed, depending on which county you're dealing with, until April 12th.
My company's remote until May 1st.
Wow.
They just extended that, so.
Oh, I'm sure things are being extended. The last I heard was Canadian County was shutting down eviction court until April 12th.
And we booked the Airbnb for our goals retreat that we do twice a year in April, and our deposit is $3,000. And we're like, well, we may be having a nice vacation, my wife and I and kids, right, in this nice house on the lake in the Ozarks. Very expensive. Or I heard that their Airbnb and those other like VRBO and those other companies do the same thing, are working with the owners of the properties and the people who are renting them to maybe postpone or delay. So they're trying to work that through. So we'll see what that means for.
There may be exceptions for that. So if you have to cancel because of the COVID, you should be able to get a full refund for it.
Yeah.
It depends on when you made your reservation. What I remember from it, and you'd want to check and verify, but I think it's if you made your reservation before March 15th, you get 100% refund and no negative for canceling.
Okay.
You
could also message the owner and ask them if they'll be reasonable.
Yeah, that's what my wife, she's handling that then. Or I'm having a nice break by myself with the kids on the big gigantic house.
Just add that to the amount you owe Angelina.
Yeah. Well, the question is, we're traveling in a car separately, so we're not doing anything strange in public places, more than 10. If we have less than 10 people in that house that actually want to go, and you have any symptoms, we're not holding a public event in a public place. We're in a private event in a private place.
Does Missouri have any rules like that right now?
I saw that the Branson, Missouri, they're shutting down, kind of like what we're doing here. You can only have curbside delivery stuff, restaurants and that kind of stuff. But they haven't done anything, because that's a big economy there, right, is all the traveling. So I haven't seen anything on about not still going to their places and renting them out. So we'll see. I suspect that a lot of people are not going to go just because of the fear of other people being in the same space. But, you know.
He's not scared.
You're not scared? Yeah.
Look at that beard. He's not scared.
It catches all the germs before they
Yeah.
can get in their bag. If I go out, I just go like this.
Yeah. Natural air filter. Hey, there's an article about a whole bunch of men are growing their beards out right now. This is the opportunity. We're all growing beards. So,
I just had a small head start.
yeah. Well, if you guys are interested, I mean, this is off topic a little bit, but I'm into a lot of natural types of things and less chemicals in my household. I mean, I still have some chemicals, but I try to eliminate as much possible chemicals I have in the air and like Windex and that stuff that gets on the dust and back in the air. So I use all natural soaps and things, but I've been using what's called colloidal silver. I'm using a version of it called silver oxide, actually. So it's not true colloidal, but it's got antibacterial functions in it because of silver oxide. And so I don't drink it. I use it just for clean air, but I actually add it to my soaps. And what silver does is it kills. The reason why it doesn't, bacteria and things don't grow on silver. Silver destroys the cell membrane. There's a lot of science behind it, but a lot of people in the medical industry will use it for wound care too. They'll use colloidal silver on your wounds to help you heal wounds. So if anyone's ever interested in that, I have the ability to make a lot of silver oxide. I have a generator that makes it, and I make it by the gallon. I mean, it only costs me $20 to make like 300 gallons. It's really, really cheap. You go by the store, really expensive. It's probably $20 for a little 10-ounce bottle. But if you ever want that, just let me know. I can make it for you. All I need is just 1 gallon distilled water, and I'll just swap you water for 1 gallon of distilled silver oxide. So go look it up, Google it if you're interested. No problem.
Keeps werewolves away too.
Yeah, sprinkle. Yeah, that's right. So what else, guys? What about on COV? Anything else? Any issues in your business you're facing that maybe one of us has maybe already been through it the day before, or any solutions or ideas?
I'm looking at I'm looking at starting a book here very, very soon. Actually, I've already went under contract with an author coach person. And so I'm looking at the topic being problem solution, and a lot of it centered around a lot of the difficulties I had several years ago. But I'm kind of curious to see, especially from other business owners and other real estate investors, what kinds of problems and solutions you would like to see in a book if you were going to, buy a book about maybe partially real estate, partially entrepreneurial, that kind of thing. So I love ideas.
Well, when you read a lot of those books about successful entrepreneurs and they share some of the journey is not all pretty, rainbows and roses. It's a lot of tree branch they've hit on the way and scraped knees. But some of them they don't go into detail of the financial problems that they have, and they kind of gloss over it a little bit. I wonder if that would be helpful for a lot of entrepreneurs, especially the ones that start new. They have no idea what the roller coaster ride they're about to get on, right? And no idea, and how they're going to rely on other sources of income or the side hustle. Or and my dad used to always say, "Don't quit your day job. When you're moonlighting, do your best job you can for your day job, because they're paying you to do a good job, and you take it seriously. But then when you moonlight, you take that serious as well, until you can get the incomes to match up, and then you can make a better decision." Sometimes quitting your job is the best thing ever happens to you, or if you get fired, right? It's the catalyst you need. But sometimes you may be able to grow faster if you keep that day job, or the spouse keeps the day job, right? But yeah, I think for you, if you're writing that book, I think I know who you're talking about to help you write that. I don't know, maybe what does she say about people spilling more details, right? Or maybe more of the hardship?
Yeah, and what she said was go into like hardcore, like the hardest time, the hardest part, the hardest thing to say, and go ahead and just be really vulnerable. And I thought that was an excellent idea, and you're kind of like right on that. That's great.
Well, in the Japanese, it's been real popular in the tech world that they call it open the kimono. I don't know if you know what a kimono is, but it's a Japanese robe. They have all these robes. I think the kimono is I think one of the last ones on the body. I think there's one more beyond, but they say open the kimono means you're naked. You're showing everything, right? You're not hiding anything anymore. And so, open the kimono.
Awesome. Anyone else?
Nope. I appreciate the invite and getting to come and listen.
Well,
Yeah, this is actually pretty cool, Ron. I wouldn't have been able to make it, obviously, but for it being online today. So
well, here's a good segue. Since we'll be probably ending here pretty soon, is of course we'll continue to do this until things change. But I thought, for a while I've been thinking about how do I get more of the entrepreneur main meetings. We're meeting at the downtown. How do I get it online easily? Because I don't want a lot of technology if it's going to drive me nuts. But there are 360 cameras I can put in the room that have special dedicated connections that someone could participate, or through 180 could see forward, kind of thing. Would that be more? Would more people attend online versus if I had something like that and made it reliable? Would that be an option? Would that be interesting or not?
I think at this point, it's mainly the information shared and the networking. I mean, that sounds cool, but I don't know that would necessarily drive up the numbers or drive the numbers down either way. Everybody, right now, everybody is exploring more and more of the whole internet thing, even folks that we're started with, because we're all stuck.
Yeah.
And so now just doing this through Zoom with Zoom's a pretty good platform. You can look at the other people, you can communicate privately, communicate in group, communicate by voice. As far as the other tech parts, I mean, that's fun for some stuff, but I don't know if that's what would drive. Just reaching out to entrepreneurs, like, the Facebook groups. There's a whole lot of entrepreneur and small business pages for Oklahoma, Norman, more on Facebook. Get out there, invite them to these same things here. There's a lot more people on social media. I mean, when you log on now and you look at number of active people, it's like 3 times what it would be 2 months ago. So I think sharing this group in those groups and inviting people in this area, I don't think that's a bad thing.
If I had to choose between meeting in person once everything settles down versus technology, that's the reason why we always did in person. There's something magical when we create those relationships when we're face to face.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. But now face to face is 9 people 6 foot apart.
Yeah. Yeah. The next 6 months to a year, probably.
Yeah, I don't think this virus has an expiration date in April.
Yeah.
I don't know.
If we all get it, and then 4% of the population is about what the population death rate is, right? If you get it, 4%. But if we all get it in 4%, then you're immune to it until the next version comes out. So my joke for you to be lighten the mood a little bit is go ahead and get it. That way, when all the discounts and cruises and things start coming back up online, and you're able to get 5 cents on the dollar, $1,000 cruise for $50 if they don't under.
Yeah.
Ron, I'm paying for my cruise to Alaska for 5 people in May, so.
You just what you did, or you are what?
The balance is due in May, so hopefully it's done by August when the cruise happens.
Oh yeah.
The virus definitely hindered my music. This is my busy season as an acoustic artist, and they postponed or canceled all my festivals. So hopefully it's done by May. I can still do a couple of them other than then.
Or a lot more online events, more online playing.
Yeah, there's a lot of new platforms that have opened up. I just haven't had the time to explore. So it's my weekend goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ron White, the comedian, he's active, much more active now on Facebook because they canceled all his gigs for the next 2 months. So all he can do is sit there and get drunk and go. Brad Paisley was having a virtual Facebook free concert. Just from his house, just a live event. I mean, we're definitely getting pushed more into this virtual reality world right now.
Yeah, apparently Garth Brooks and his wife Patricia went out and did something, got like 3 million followers and crashed the website. It was so many at once.
And if any of you have any inclinations, do podcasting or video casting, or share you've got a voice to something. This might be an opportunity for, podcasts are pretty popular now, but this might be an explosion in whatever media you're on to share your story or talk about what you're expert at. That might be a segue. For example, we have this 3-year-old, almost 3-year-old, and my grandma got, or my mom got her on watching YouTube. And so she started watching all these kids programs that are kind of nonsense. Some of it's learning and some of it's like, oh, that's driving me crazy. But the ones that are making a lot of money are there's several shows of them following their kids around, doing something with their kids, or their kids doing something. Like one of them is called Ryan's World, and they make $20 million a year. And if you watch their show, just go Google it, Ryan's World, and just see what they're doing. They're just playing and it's very planned out. But then, of course, but every single day they put a video out, and you'll look at them, millions and millions of views. And I started looking, I was like, I was curious, how much they're really making money. If you get 1 million views, typically it's about $5,000 just from YouTube. All right, so if you're getting a million views every single day times 30, that's a lot of money. All right, and they get sponsorships and all that other stuff. There's another girl, you never see her face. You only see her hands playing with toys. She makes about $20 million. There's another girl, she only plays with Disney toys. And so she's probably got a lot of sponsorships with Disney to play with Disney toys, right? And those things. And so there's a lot of shows from around the world that are, it's oddball stuff, and yet it's just daily life of people, they're watching it. And of course, the article is talking about why is that happening? Because the younger generation are being we were babysat in front of the TV, right? The old one in front of it looked like, my age group it was a big furniture-looking TV on the floor. You guys remember those cabinets with the big, gigantic, looked like a piece of furniture with a screen in it? We sat on the floor, right?
Console TVs, yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, the TVs got higher and the iPads and all that. So this new generation of kids, parents are plopping in front of YouTube, right? And so that's where it is. So there might be opportunity to get your voice out there. And I'm very private because IT stuff. I'm like, I have to be careful what I put out there and my baby. And I'm like, honey, I can pay $200,000 a month and just, it's not gonna be easy. Nothing's easy. But I said, what if you can make $200,000 a month or $100,000 a month on running around doing? I play a lot with my baby. We have a lot of fun, right? It's all private videos right now we're doing all the time. And I try to pay attention and look at her, not the video camera when I'm doing it. But there's some things you can do where the camera can just be honest, do its own thing. And maybe. Our lives in IT world is not that private, right?
Heck, if you get $200,000 a month, I imagine you could probably just hire somebody to man the camera.
Yeah, and a bodyguard, right? So if someone trying to bum rush you, right?
It would definitely give you some options if you had a couple $100,000 coming in a month for
non-real estate stuff. Yeah. I'm already doing this stuff anyway. So anyways, that's the whole point of that conversation is there's a lot of opportunity out there. So if your business has to pivot or if your business goes under, I've met many entrepreneurs that are much more older and wiser, and they're a lot more experiences than I have. And the stories, that's why I love the stories, because when you find out where they started from and where they're going and what they're doing, they may have been a plumber when they're 20-something years old. Now they were a doctor when they're 40s, and then they're doing something else in their 50s. And it's amazing the stories they have. The experience has nothing. The connections them have nothing to do with each other, but the experience along the way means everything. It's all tied together. And so, the people changing careers a lot more often now, and being more Renaissance man or woman being access to a lot more knowledge and things they're interested in. There's a lot more ways to make money now, and all kinds of weird esoteric things that you never knew could be possible. And so I'm an optimistic. I always believe there's a lot of opportunity out there. You just got to find out what it is. So Anything else, guys? Well, stay positive. I mean, while COV is serious, it's also the fear or shunning is going to be much bigger than what's going to actually happen. And our job as entrepreneurs is to kind of control that for yourself so you can make better decisions and you can see opportunity at the right time. And also, who can you help during this process? And unless we get an apocalyptic world, it's going to end up being okay. I mean, if you go back and think of like tuberculosis, I mean, that was pretty bad. Quarantine for the rest of your life if you've got certain TB, right? And so some of those things are pretty bad. And COV, I mean, right now, if you don't die, you recover from it. You know, so just don't die.
The odds of that happening are pretty slim with this group.
Yeah.
I was listening to the stats earlier, and it's not even 4%. And here again, it's mainly the compromised and the elderly. And yes, we don't want to spread it to them. I'm not trying to be callous, but he mentioned that this is deadlier than the flu. It's not. There's not a doctor out there claiming this is deadlier than the flu. It's just another version of the same bug that's been around since the 60s. We don't want to spread it to the folks that can get weak, that are weak, but for the folks in this group that I've seen, 98% survivability rate. You had a mild cough for 2 weeks and it went away, kind of thing. When are you going to do this again, Ron?
So typically, the entrepreneur group is every fourth Thursday of the month, unless we have a holiday like Thanksgiving and Christmas. We move to third or fifth Thursday of the month. So
Gotcha.
Until things lift, we'll continue to do this. We also do every second Wednesday of the month. We have coffee with entrepreneurs, and that was at a coffee shop in a much smaller environment, more intimate. Obviously, a lot of coffee shops are closed down, so we'll start doing coffee. Just same thing. So we'll have maybe twice a month. You know, a lot of us are going to be cabin fever, so we need to talk to our entrepreneur friends and colleagues. So
I'll definitely have virtual coffee with you guys.
Yeah, virtual coffee.
I forgot. I start my meetings with this gas mask that I have. Well, I'm not going to get it from you guys virtually, but until further notice, we'll just keep doing things online, and then we'll just go roll the punches. You know.
Hey, Ron, I was thinking because we haven't had a board game night in a really long time. We should try to at least do one online game where we get together and play one of those board games, like in a private group online.
So there's an app called Tabletop Simulator, I think it's called. I'm a big board gamer, so I'm in part of these different board game groups, and they're all. I was joking, we should just put video cameras in our office, webcams, and control and play games that you can be controlled in that environment. And then someone reminded me, you have Tabletop Simulator, so that could be an option where you download that software. Steam has it and that kind of stuff. A lot of the board games that we play that are on physical copies have been virtualized. So yeah, there's that opportunity to do some of that. Oh, yeah.
No, I was excited to come play board games, and then COVID came out. I was like, oh, man. So I'd love that.
Yeah.
Give us something to do. I'm tired of being in the house doing nothing but work.
You can still go outside. You know that, right?
Yeah, I'm into exercising outside, but need a little bit of social. My neighbors are okay, I guess. Everybody walks on the other side of the street. It's weird. Just can't get close to each other.
All right, guys. Anything else? Last call, final words?
Nope. Have a good evening.
All right, guys. Stay positive, and we'll see you when we see you. Thank you for getting on board and having this great conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
And,
Take care.
hey, Ron, are you
Yeah.
still doing the coffee with Ron thing? If I talked to my dad about all the real estate stuff.
Yeah, we'll just do it. Yeah, go to Coffee with Ron. We'll have a virtual coffee meeting.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
I just updated my calendar that put it on there, a virtual Zoom. So either one, I'll know it's for video conferencing. We'll just visit over just like we're doing now. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll see it. He's an essential employee, so he's out there working all the time. So I'll see if I get some time. But I was just mentioning some of the stuff you said, and he's like, man, if I would have known that information when I was doing it, and he's like, my credit's kind of shot right now, but he's like, I'd be willing to get it back up, and we could get this started. And I was like, well, something me and him have been talking about for a long time. So
Well, there's an opportunity. I try to stay from real estate as much as possible for the entrepreneurs, but there's going to be an opportunity right now of entrepreneurs or real estate investors right now. If things, we don't know what's going to happen, but there are going to be some investors going to lose some properties, and or they're going to have to cut some off to solve their problems, and it's going to happen. I mean, lenders are already changing their guidelines. They're lowering just to be safe right now. They're lowering the cash out refis from 80, 85 back down to what we used to be 70, 75, right? And so that's also going to push down wholesale. So it's all like this. It all kind of tinkers together, right? It just kind of follows each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's going to be opportunity for real estate, buying real estate cheaper. So it's just how you just got to weather the storm right now until things get cleared up, or go faster, harder. I mean, who knows, right? But I believe this may be the actual. We've been waiting for this. We've been waiting for the 8, 10, 12-year cycle of real estate to finally adjust, right, or correct.
I didn't think it was going to be this, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was joking with my wife, like, man, if it was just 2 more months, so I can get, because we're moving personally in our house, like, just 2 more months. We've been wanting it, but not now.
It's such a weird time for everybody, but I'm taking it as a good thing, is being able to. It's a lot of time people never thought they'd get to actually think about what they're doing and where they're at in their lives. It's just how you use your time.
Yeah. Well, these opportunities happen about every decade, right? Something like this, something happens, and you have a chance to do it. So 2008 was the big one for me, ish, and it's here. This is it. And there'll be more opportunities later on, but a lot of us don't live a long time. So I don't want to be. I always joke this will be my last investment cycle as far as going crazy, working really hard. I'm not working hard now, but if the deals start coming in, I'm going to work pretty hard for the next year or two. Sort of. I mean, I'll invest more time working harder in my business, what I mean. And then I'm probably going to be on more vacation after that, right? Set things up to where I can be more out. But plus I have plus I have the daughter, right? So she's getting the age now we can start traveling more and that kind of stuff. So, but for you, I mean, this is your first chance to get in. The door's open. The door is opening. It doesn't have to be real estate. It could be something else, but you're interested in real estate, so that's an opportunity. Just gotta be around the right people who are in it, and they're gonna survive it and make the right decisions in the process. And then, but if you talk to the old timers, all right, or people who've been through, like me, who've been through a cycle or two, we survived through those cycles. We learned some things, right? We made some mistakes and successes along the way, and it's just like Mark Twain. It shouldn't repeat, but it sure does rhyme.
Right.
So,
yeah, real estate's one that I've always thought of just because that's what my parents have always done. They used to have, like I said, multiple rent houses, but then the recession hit and a lot of things happened. So,
yeah,
but they know how to buy a house and they know how to do all that. So that's good. And then me and my mother work in insurance, so that helps as well.
Well, if your dad, I mean, the new things, like you said, if he had learned those other techniques or just knew that information, that may be the thing that he needs to know this next round, that he'll never have to worry about losing those houses.
Well, I mentioned the BRRRR method that you talked about to the best of my ability. He's like, man, if I would have even thought about that at the time,
right.
That's a great idea. He's like, I would have never thought about it. I was like, yeah. He's like, I was just winging it.
Yeah.
All right. Doing my best.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell people, hold on to your cash and use other people's money.
Right. That's what I said. I was like, you can buy time. He's like, yep, that makes perfect sense. I was like, I would have never thought of it. So, yeah, we'll get something set up, and I'll get on there where I find him some time. Okay. And then we'll set up with the Coffee for Entrepreneurs. Going to be virtual too.
Yeah, it's all going to be virtual. And if you want to go, coffeewithron.com, you can access my calendar. I see John's still on. John, if you want to have a virtual coffee over Zoom, just you and me, absolutely go to coffeewithron.com. You can see it's access my calendar, and we can set up a time, and we can just have a one-on-one conversation. So
cool. I'll look it up.
Okay. All right, guys. Anything else?
I'm good.
All right.
No, be safe. We'll talk to y'all. We'll see you.
Get out and get some fresh air tomorrow.
Get some sunshine.
Bye, guys.
At least it's warm.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
All right, bye.